and I'm going to be talking about water polo. Water polo, a sport of epic proportion. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a girl like me be playing a sport like water polo? Well, whether you have watched it on the Olympics, played it yourself, or heard about it at your school, most of you have had water polo in your life in some aspect. And to others, some of you might have no idea and it could be a foreign language. I've been playing water polo for 4 years, 3 years in high school and 1 year in college. This is actually my first year that I have not played water polo. I'll be informing you of the 3 fundamentals of water polo that every player should know to be successful. These 3 points are knowing the rules of the game, the positions, and to train, and more training. Before we start playing the game of water polo, you need to know the rules of the game so you have a better understanding of the concept. The only difference between men and women's water polo is the size of the field, which is the pool, and the size of the ball. The men's field is 30 by 20 meters, and the women's is 25 by 20. Men's balls are usually bigger because they most likely have bigger hands, so it's easier ball control. Women's balls are smaller. In the pool, you have a goal at each end. Sheet is passing around where you can see one side of the field. The goal, you have one goal, which is the goal line. The white line in front of the goal line is where you can tell if you get a point. If the ball completely passes the white line, then you receive a point. The next one is the 2-meter line, which is a red line. The opposing team cannot go into this 2-meter line unless you have the ball in your hand. The next one is the 5-meter line, which is a yellow line. This 5-meter line is where most of the penalties happen. You have a penalty throw where you get, if someone fouls you, I'll talk about that in a minute, you get to throw it with your opponent stepping away from you, so you get a free throw to whatever person on your team. The next one is if you're outside that goal, that line, you have a goal shot where you can pick up from the ground and throw it straight into the goal if you would like, and you have no blockers. Next, you have the white center line, which obviously is the center of the pool. The white center line is where you readjust after every goal. You go back into the middle to start a new game which would be another play. Then the goalie also is not allowed to pass this line. That's the only point for the goal line. Next, you have players. There are 7 players that are within the field at a time. 1 in the goal and 6 out playing. The home team usually wears a white cap. With the white cap, you have your numbers on the side. The opposing team usually has a darker cap, most likely dark blue. Like every sport on the scoreboard, left side is home, right side is visiting. Next, you have substitutions. Unlike certain sports where you can only have a certain amount of substitution, in water polo you can substitute as many times as you would like. The only time you are allowed to substitute, though, is after a point, during timeouts, between periods, and you can only substitute in a designated substituting area, which is a small box outside of the field where you go in and then you substitute and trade out so they can see the numbers. Next, you have your uniforms. Men and women are different with the uniforms, obviously. The men have a Speedo with a cap. The cap has 2 cups around your ears, so for safety reasons, so no one pulls the ears. Men usually don't have longer hair. If they have longer hair, you wear a normal cap for swimming. Women have a suit that's very attractive, comes up here and zips up in the back. Girls are more aggressive than guys, so most of the time they like to pull and rip, so you have to have it really tight. You usually get up 2 sizes smaller, so you have to take your arms, pull it back here, and stretch it so it can actually zip up in the back. You also have a normal cap like swimming, so your hair doesn't get pulled, and then the cap over your ears. A main one is your nails. While you're warming up, you have to come out to the ref and you have to show your feet and your hands. He checks your nails. If your nails, he can feel them, then you cannot get back into the pool until you cut them. A way you get rid of this is if your coach has clippers, you clip them. If not, you take them on the concrete and rub them until they're filed down and he checks them again. That's another main thing. Next, you have fouls. In fouls, you have a minor foul, a major foul, and a conduct foul. A minor foul would be delaying a throw. You have 30 seconds to get it into the goal, or attempt to get it into the goal. Next, you have 2 hands. The ball can only be touched with 1 hand at a time. Then you have if the ball goes underwater. Example, if I had the ball in my hand, and I had it near the water and I was touching it, someone could push my hand and push it down, and then it would be their ball because it was under the water. Next, you have a major foul where you can get ejected. Ejected is if you are holding, sinking, pulling back, kicking, or striking the other player without the ball. Next, you have the conduct foul. The conduct foul is when they're outside the pool and like coaches or other teammates. You have cards. Yellow card for a warning and red card to leave the bench. Next, now that we've heard and understand the rules of the sport, we will move on to the positions that are played in the field. On the sheet that was passed around, you have a wing, a flat, a point, and a hole set. Those are on offense. According to Buckner, who was one of the Olympic water polo players, attackers are normally lean and faster, while the centers are more bulky. Buckner says defenders and centers are normally the tallest players and the strongest, but the attackers give up the weight and strength for their speed. The wings and the flats move forward so they can get the ball. The whole set and the point are in the middle, and they're the ones who have the people on their back that try to get the goals the most. The same is for defense. You just switch the point and the whole center. They switch to opposite sides. You have the knowledge of the sport, and now you need to be prepared. Next, for training, according to Buckner, you can swim 2 miles per match. You cannot touch the bottom of